There was a really deep revelation the other day that I got in regards to the wealth transfer that's happening. Now, if you really have been soaking up what a lot of the prophets have been saying, maybe God has been speaking this to you, maybe you've been seeing the shift already happen within your circle or in others around the world. But there is a great wealth transfer that is happening right now, and it's been in motion for quite some time. But we're really starting to see things expedite in a big way. Some of the prophets that I love to follow, they really dig in deep, and I love just how the Lord speaks to them. And even when I'm reading their prophetic words, I'm like, Lord, speak to me like this, or however you want to speak to me, because I want revelations like this, or whatever it is that you want to give, right? I don't want to ever limit God. Gosh, so often we limit God with our small thinking and safe living. I'm like, increase my faith in you and show me something that what I would only maybe be able to envision in my wildest dreams. That's a prayer that we should be praying. Back to the wealth transfer. It's definitely happening right now. And one of the things that the Lord revealed to me the other day was with this wealth transfer, it's not the first time we'll see wealth like this, but it will be something and it will look like something so different because we maybe know or we've seen very wealthy people. Now, I'm not saying this for all wealthy people. So if this triggers you, go pray about it. Go dig in as to why it triggers you because there might be something there. But there's a lot of people of wealth and they hold on to it. They grow it for themselves. Self-preservation for self, I, want. Not saying they don't give to other people, not saying they don't give to other organizations, but there's a lot of money, I believe, within the wealthy right now that they're holding on to it because they're like, well, I've earned it. This is mine. Rather than being like, okay, Lord, where do we put this? Where does this go? And I do know and I do believe there are people out there that are doing that. But in this wealth transfer, it's going to be so much more. It's going to show us that there is wealth like we've never seen before. And God's going to use those people that have earned that wealth and use that wealth unlike he has ever before. And it gets me to question sometimes of, Lord, were you trying to tell us this all along? That the wealthy had opportunities to do more of your work, but they haven't done it. And I believe that to be partially true. I believe that to be partially true. Or, other side of it, it was always meant for this time. I mean, you can look at it so many different ways, but I'm also like, Lord, how do you want me to use it? So my husband and I story, I mean, we have sacrificed a lot to build what we're building now, to have a lifestyle and a future and generational wealth for our family that we've never seen. And that's caused us to step outside of major comfort zones, being laughed at, made fun at, people casting their fears, their worries, their anxiety on us, you name it. We have endured a lot. We've endured a lot. But we also know that there's so much more to come. We've given up things that would be normal to people in order to have that be a sacrifice temporarily for what's to come. And most people wouldn't have given up a fraction of what we gave up in order for this to happen. And I say that because if you are meant for something great, there's going to be testing, there's going to be sacrifice, and the enemy's going to do whatever he can to take away, distract, delay, whatever he can before the promise comes, because he can never take away the promise. When God ordains it, it's happening. It's happening. So just lean in. Just lean in. Plus, anybody who's ever truly been wealthy has never had, I've never heard of somebody who didn't have some kind of a struggle story of getting hit with left, right, left, right, left, right, uppercut jabs in a multitude of areas. Literally. So there's always going to be some sacrifice. But the wealth that is coming in right now, God is going to do something so different. And it's going to shake the world in such a big way to show his heart, his generosity through his people. Through his people. I can't tell you how much it bothers me when people are like, oh, there's a homeless person on the side of the road. If I give him cash, he'll probably just go buy drugs. Is that your call? Is that your call and what you think he's going to go buy? That's not your call. Or take tithing at church, for example. I don't really know where it's going. Is that your call? If you trust that that's your home church and you're getting fed there, give the money, and that's the call of the people who are stewarding it in that organization. It's not your call. I remember the first big month that I had in coaching, biggest month I ever had in coaching, my very first one, tens of thousands of dollars from one client. And I could not wait to give that multiple $1,000 tithe check. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Here you go. The very first time. This was years ago. And when I was giving it to the church, I almost wanted to give it to our pastor at the time, being like, go take this, go on a vacation if you want, do whatever you want with it. I don't care, because it's in your hands now. It's not up to me. And that was so freeing, because whether he used that to pay for something of his own, because pastors get a salary too, or he does it for the church, or he gives it to an orphanage, or whatever, it's not up to me. It's not up to me on how they spend it. It's not up to me to police that. Let go of that. Release that. It drives me nuts when people are like, well, if you don't trust them, then you should probably find another church. Or it's typically, I don't have control over it. I don't want to give it to somebody. Was it really even yours to begin with? Or did God give that to you to steward, to give to somebody else? I believe a lot of the money that has come to people, and a lot of the money that will come to people, yes, it is for us. Yes, we have desires and needs and wants and all the things. But it is for other people. To take care of the needy, take care of the widows, take care of helping people just get their dreams off the ground. I remember when I was in my mid-20s, and in my bathroom mirror, I had all these sticky notes. And it was like in 2020, it was back in 2018, 2019, something like that. So I was like in 2025, which felt like forever, like back then. And now we're like 1 year away. In 2025, I'm going to have this. In 2025, I want that. And some of the things I had on my mirror were definitely ego driven. Definitely like, oh, this would be great. Like, I can't wait to have a jet in 2025. Now, when I look back on it, I'm like, man, jets are expensive. That is wild. Anyways, whatever. Some of the other things I had on my mirror were opening up an entrepreneur school. When I first was introduced that there's such things as entrepreneur schools, I'm like, that's where I want my kids to go, and I want to open one up. What other things? There was passive income through real estate, having multiple properties in multiple countries, and, just different things like that. But there were some things on the list that definitely were like, this is going to be for other people, because if I need it, other people need it. If I have a desire, other people have a desire. But there was a lot of things on that list that was self-absorbed of what I could use for me. For me, I, my family. And that's great. Being able to set your family up in generational wealth, that's amazing. But it's so much bigger than that. There's other people dependent on you being obedient and listening to the Lord of, I need you to give here. I need you to give this much. I need you to do this. I remember a long time ago, I met somebody where they told me they always had, I think it was like 5 or 8 $100 bills in their wallet to give at any time. And one time they were in the Costco parking lot, and this family came up, and they're like, we literally have nothing. And that person was giving them hundreds. Now, when you have nothing and you get a $100 bill, I remember being in positions like this, that feels like $1 million. It really does. When you have nothing and you're negative and you're scraping. Like, my husband and I have been in positions where we've had no money in the bank account. The bank account's actually negative, like thousands of dollars. And all we had were beans. All we had were beans. Like garbanzo beans. That's it. That's it. And so when you get $100 when you have nothing, you're like, oh my gosh, like I can do all the things. You really can't, but it's something. And that forever changed me. I was like, man, people barely give 5s and 10s, and you're giving out hundos? You're giving out Benjamins? Like, okay, all right. Challenged my thinking. So with this wealth transfer that's happening, with what's coming in, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, finally, yes. Is your heart posture set to where no matter what, Lord, this isn't mine. You're entrusting me with the 90, and all I have to give is 10, and maybe some months it's 15, 20, 30%. Maybe it's more. Have you ever thought maybe even praying, Lord, I want to make so much that I want to tithe 50%. I want to give away and tithe 50% of my income. Has anybody even attempted that? Like, I think about those things. I remember one time I was tithing to an organization, a friend of mine that has a church, and something I definitely believe in. I've gotten a lot of fruit from, and I think I was going to tithe like $300 or something, but I accidentally pressed a couple extra zeros, and it said $30,000. And I sat there looking at my phone. I was like, what do I need to be making to tithe this? How good would it feel to tithe this? And to know that it's out of my hands and it's in the hands of whatever they need. I don't care where that goes. It's not up to me. And so my mind gets to thinking about these things because it's like money is just a tool and a resource, but money very quickly can become a lord in your life. It does for a lot of people. I know a lot of people where they were just amazing kingdom people and they got some prestige, they got some money, and things went the other direction, right? Because it now gave them security. A lot of people find their security in money. And yes, we need it. But ultimately, where does that come from? So God is looking for the hearts of his people to shift into how they can be obedient when he says move. When he says move. I remember I've been in grocery stores or, whatever, a store of any kind. And I wanted to get something. And in that moment, I just felt the Holy Spirit be like, put that down. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this doesn't even cost that much. And I actually need it. He's like, put it down. I'm like, okay. And I battled with them. Like, this is crazy. But sure. And you get little tests like that or you get big ones. You get big ones. There's tests all around. And God is testing and refining and purifying his people for this wealth transfer so he can really do some big things. Big things. You meet and hear a lot of people on this podcast that are doing amazing things, from incredible nonprofits to amazing Bible studies to how to be able to extend your generosity and have it go further, to real estate investing, to sales and how to be able to be a better salesperson. Really, you're serving ministry. I mean, you name it. There's so many people that come on here that are stewarding those gifts that are just being used by the Lord. It's just amazing. God's looking for your yes in every area. And so maybe you're feeling like you're a part of this wealth transfer. You feel like wealth is something that's been called on your life. I want to finish with this. The Lord gave me this word, and I was like, what a word. Opulence. Opulence. Great wealth or luxury. Great wealth or luxury. I mentioned it to a friend. She's like, opulence, like a pearl. That's how she gave the image to me. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's good. But opulence. More opulence needs to flood the earth. But it takes releasing old mindsets, getting out of certain environments, and being able to give God your yes no matter what, even if you don't feel like you have it. I feel like when I feel like I haven't had it financially, physically, energy-wise, all the things, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm going to give you my yes. And what happens? A miracle. A miracle happens because I gave God my yes. So how often are we not giving him our yes because we're like, I can't do it? Well, he's not just relying on you. He's relying on you to lean on him. That's what he's hoping for. That's what he's hoping for. So there's just so much in this. And I know this is, barely just scratching the surface, but it just gets us to think of it's coming. Are we preparing for what's coming? Or are we going to stay in the same spot? Because our brain is wired to protect us. So it's wired to not take certain risks because they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Danger alert, danger alert. But there's also danger in staying in the same place. Lord, where are you leading me to? And I believe there's a lot of wealth that is going to be released because there are a lot of people that are refining in this season to steward that, to bring more kingdom to earth than ever before. Point blank, period. And you're going to go through the muck to get there. Just going to prepare you for it. And if you don't, great. Well, at least you're prepared. Because most of us do. And it's so worth it. It really is, because we're not put on this earth just for ourselves. It's for so many other people. And that's why I named this podcast It's Bigger Than Me, because everything we do is bigger than us. That's why I bring the guests on that I do, because everything they do, they know it's bigger than them. And then we get introduced to people like that have that mentality, that heart posture. Because when we're around people like that, it's contagious. It really is. And God is going to release some massive blessings. And for some of y'all, it's going to be a huge clap back to the enemy. Because God is the greatest when it comes to the comeback story. He knows. He's already seen the beginning to the end. We just have to endure be persistent, be patient, be submitted in the middle. That's our job. And to give him our yes, no matter what. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. It means the world to me that you would lean in, listen in, and be able to hear the value that's being shared on this show. Don't forget, if you love this episode, rate the show, leave me a review, be sure to share it with a friend, and don't forget to tag me on social media. I will definitely be giving you a shout out. Also, come say hi, drop in the DMs. I would love to be able to hear what stood out to you the most on the episode, and if there's any topics that you would like to hear on the show. We'll see you next time.